Hey, we got Pete with us tonight. If you don't know, Pete's a documentarian, philosopher, writer, author, all those good things. Monopoly on Violence is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. He's got a lot of writing on his Substacks and everything else that are down below. Pete, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. What are we going to talk about?
It's going to go all kinds of places. Before we do, Rob, what are you drinking tonight?
I have just stocked up the home bar. Sorry, I'm a little late. Work calls tonight. We're trying to sue some people, but drinking the Traveler whiskey. I haven't tried this one yet. I heard it's decent. It's on that Jack Daniel's Jim Beam kind of level. So we'll see.
I'm going to be drinking the Maker's Mark tonight. Pete's not going to drink with us. He doesn't want to get in trouble. We'll try to avoid that.
Later, I'll have a little Madeira.
Madeira? Okay. All right. Good deal. Yeah, no, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I do feel obligated to ask because we do have a largely libertarian audience. But I really don't know what you've been up to since that whole thing or what your take on it has been since the takeover, the Chase Oliver campaign, the whole deal leading into the election. From what I remember, you were kind of in support in the beginning a little bit and then quickly moved to the you guys should join the Republican Party instead and do that. That would be more effective and less waste of your time. The GOP Mises Caucus became like a big thing. I remember that. And then I don't really remember much else after that. I've heard different things, but I wanted to talk to you directly because I feel like that's the best way to do it. So what has been your take on the whole election strategy or the whatever you want to call it of the Libertarian Party, and then how did you go approach the election and thoughts afterwards? That whole deal. Where you at on that?
Well, I mean, I came to the conclusion later in 2021 that if reading people like Conquest and Robert Conquest, that if something isn't explicitly right wing, it's going to go left wing.
Yeah.
It always does. It has to be explicitly. It has to be based upon something right wing. So I saw the takeover happen. I was happy for them, because I mean I have friends there. I liked it. I was watching it in 2022 when I was at Childerberg and hanging out with Bird and the guys from Timeline Earth and Typo from all those guys were there, and I was genuinely happy because these are friends of mine. But I also knew that unless you took a very staunch right-wing approach, things were going to fall apart. And unfortunately, it only took 2 years. And then you get Chase Oliver running. I mean, you can use the excuse that Dave should have run. It would have been better. Okay, sure. But you should have had something in place. And I'm friends with Michael Rectenwald. I like Michael Rectenwald a lot. But it was people didn't get excited for Mike, and people wanted Dave, and they felt like Dave had strung along and everything. And I'm just like, look, I talk about politics a lot. I was one of the people. I said in February I thought J.D. Vance was going to be the vice president. I said that there were all these tech guys. We figured out in January and February that all these tech guys were moving in to get in Trump's orbit. And, I started seeing how things actually work. And if you're going to have any kind of power, you need elites. And you need elite backing. And I saw that Trump had elite backing. Well, then you go over to the Libertarian Party, and there's really, who's backing them once. So, yeah, I do actually like what Angela is doing as far as talking to Trump and talking to his people and looking to make deals. If they get Ross out of prison, which I mean he shouldn't be there, mostly because of all the corruption that was in the case. Most people wouldn't have gone to prison for all he did, but I like what they're doing. It's not. I have a tendency to believe that we're in a dialectic is globalism or nationalism, regionalism. And when I look at things like laissez-faire, truly free markets, which are pushed, it's globalism. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
goods going across borders, and what's the most expensive good you have when you have a business is labor.
Right.
And you're going to be laissez-faire. People are going to be pushing for labor to be able to cross borders. You see Musk doing it. You see all these people doing it who have libertarian leanings. And I just think that leads to globalism. So right now, I'm basically at a regionalism standpoint where you do things as local as possible, but it has to have a distinct tenor of right wing to it, or else it's going to go left wing eventually. It always does. You can't point to anything in history that wasn't marginally right wing that doesn't eventually go left wing. It has to be this is the foundation we stand upon, and we are not going to move 1 inch from it.
Yeah. Where do you place that divide at between left and right? Because I kind of agree with you. I don't even know if it has to be explicitly right wing as long as it's explicitly anti left wing, right? Like I think it's a a distinction without a difference, I guess. But where would you put like what would you say that distinction is? Also, take a drink, Rob. Magoo just gave us $10.
I want to do it pinky up.
Hey, what's up, Magoo? Where would I place it? I mean, certainly hierarchy.
Yeah.
Having to believe in a natural hierarchy, and also caring about living historically. Living historically means that you live for your descendants, you live for the people coming after you, but you also know the people who came before you. And one of the reasons I live where I live is because there are people who've been living here for a couple hundred years.
Right.
And there's a sense of history here. There's a sense of a foundation here. And it can't be swept to and fro by the latest fad, the latest thing that the regime and their media is selling you. Whether it be trans, whether it be whatever. You have to be able to stand your ground and say no. And I think when it comes down to it, living historically and knowing where you came from, and knowing and passing that information along is probably is something that we just don't have. Most people don't know their great grandfather's name, and I didn't know my great grandfather's name. I didn't know my great grandfather's name on my mom's side through my grandmother until I started doing recent searches and recent research. So, finding out who these people are, where they came from. I mean, they're you. They're just a form of you in the past, and you're supposed to know who they are and supposed to make them proud, and not.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, I think it is important to know where you came from. I always look at the past as like a way to learn from other people's mistakes and try to improve on that and move forward. And then, some of the things that worked as well, like, we tried different things, all like nothing new under the sun, right? Everybody's tried everything. So we kind of know what works and what doesn't work. And people that ignore that, are doomed to repeat it. I guess, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on libertarian stuff. I kind of tend to agree with you. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I'm okay with what they're doing now. I don't know how much it's going to be effective or successful, or how much is really going to change at the end of the day. The bigger part of and Rob, if you wanted to add anything to that, go for it. But I think what I wanted to spend more time on is kind of like where we're at now that Trump has won. What's coming up next, all those kinds of things. You mentioned the immigration thing. When we did our yearly recap of kind of like what happened and where we think things are going, that was kind of one of the things that I pointed at and said, I think there's going to be a huge battle over immigration. I think there's a lot of people on the right, especially, that support it. But even, not just left wingers, not just libertarians, not just, whatever, there's going to be a big backlash if Tom Homan does what he's talking about doing, mass deportations. If that actually comes to fruition, that's like that's civil war shit right there. Like people are going to stand in the way, I feel like, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be a huge battle over this issue. Like it's going to be the next, like not on the same level as Black Lives Matter, but maybe like it's going to be a big brawl, I feel like. But I don't know. What do you think of, like, do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? Or is there something else that maybe I should pay more attention to?
I mean, I think that there are a lot of people who are screaming about how, we not only have to stop immigration, but we need to remigrate people who know someone in their life who's here illegally that they want to make an exception for, and that's just not acceptable. You have to be able to say, yeah, if we are going to get rid of everyone who's here illegally, we have to get rid of everyone who's here illegally. I don't care if you like them or not.
Yeah.
But we also have to look. You also have to look at some of the laws that went into place, that birthright citizenship and things like that. I mean, that's a big deal. Vivek has, really shown. Vivek used to say, you pronounce my name Vivek like steak, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you pronounce it like snake, because
Oh.
he's a snake. I mean, he told us exactly. He told us exactly what he thinks. He thinks that Indians are better than Americans. That's what that tweet said. That tweet said that people who are here, you suck, you're weak, you're stupid, and we need to bring all these street shitters over here and to replace you.
What it was? I haven't seen this tweet. I'm cold reacting here. What tweet is? Tweet is this?
I have it in my bookmarks.
Indians are better than
Yeah,
Americans.
I'll pull it up. Yeah.
Indians are better than Americans at what? Eating cow poo, Vivek? What are we talking about here? Running a 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
Put it in the
Calling
private.
me, really good at communication. These Indian people calling me all the time. I don't like. What is he talking about here?
Trying to figure out how to put it in the private chat.
Yeah, you can put it there, or you can send it to me in a DM, whatever's easier for you. That's fine.
Okay,
If they're
I'll put
so
it in
much
a
better,
DM, sure.
then why does India smell so bad, Vivek? Like, tell
We
me
did
what the fuck's going
play
on.
GeoGuessr India style the other day, and you missed it, Rob.
Okay,
It was terrible.
So this week I have been just super inundated with work, and last week and the holidays. Indians are in like the X algorithm right now, for whatever reason. Like there's something going on, and
It's this whole
get to the
conversation.
bottom of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, this is the tweet. I mean, if you read the whole thing, it is absolutely insane.
The reason top tech I won't read the whole thing, but I'll try to read some of it. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first generation engineers over native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really here serious about fixing the problem, then we have to confront the truth. So is he saying that Americans don't have a hard work attitude and culture?
He's basically
Yeah.
he's basically applying the stereotype of the lazy American to everybody. And what he's saying is, he's like, there's no white engineers out there. And and at one point in here, he says, and other people were saying, and things that I saw him retweet was, you have immigrants that come over here and work 16 hours a day, and that's how they beat you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all, there's no immigrants working 16 hours a day. You can kiss my ass, especially an Indian. An Indian is not working 60. That guy's in the. I mean, you're either trying to teach them how to use the bathroom, and that's where they're spending most of their time, or they're out in the alley, behind the building. Okay.
Yeah.
These people are not smart. I had an Indian gentleman who spoke at Hopa's Hunter Mahapa's PFS conference last year. And I had him on last week to talk about what India is really like and what Indians are really like. And he's like, you do not want anything to do with them. He goes, and the one thing he said that everybody picked up on was, he said, he goes, the Indians that can pass for being trustworthy and maybe even smart are already here. You haven't met the average Indian yet. He said, it's a culture of scamming. It's a culture of trading favors with for sex and for money. He said, these people
For
have
Bob's, just
they
for some
love
Bob's, dude.
yeah they love chaos. They
Yeah.
thrive on chaos. I heard this number last year, and it was not last year, but like this last week, and I couldn't believe it. But I looked it up, and it's true. 60% of India shits outdoors somewhere on a daily basis. That's 600 million people a day. That's a little under twice the amount of people in the United States.
It's
Okay, so
it's absurd when you go to the street view. I'll just say that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean these are not people you want here. I mean, I talked to friends of mine who own businesses, and there's like a Jeep like gas station next door. They're like the smell. You can't even deal with the smell, and you'll like offer them. I have a friend who offered one like an absurd amount of money just so that he would shut the business down, so he had extra parking for his business. And they had, I have to talk to my cousin and this, and then they ended up going, no, this is more money than they're going to make in their whole life, and they just did it to spite him, just because he wanted something. They were like, fuck you.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
feel like the conversation is a bit disingenuous when they talk about like we just need all these programmers or we need all these high tech people. It's jobs Americans can't do, this whole thing, and then like you said, you see what kind of jobs immigrants are doing, and it's not that. It's cleaning hotel rooms, it's fucking working in restaurants, it's working at gas stations or whatever it is with their families and everything. And I'm not knocking the entrepreneurial spirit or anything like that by saying
Well,
that.
I mean,
I'm just
it's not
saying,
entrepreneurial. If you
yeah,
travel this country on the highway and you get off and you go to a hotel, like there's a one there it's probably like a 9 in 10 chance that it's going to be Indian owned. That
yeah.
didn't happen by accident. They were given that. That's like
You think it was given? You don't
basically
think they
special
saw an
favors.
opening and took it?
Those are special favors where they sign a contract for, I think it's like a year or 2 years, and then they have to sell it to somebody else, and they sell it to their cousin.
Right,
And they
so
just
they can
keep it in
come.
the family, and they're like they don't. Some of these are loans that are interest free. Most of it, if it's a loan, it's interest free. Some of it they don't have to pay back if they meet certain requirements or something like employment, and they all just hire their own family and everything. These people, you're not going to fucking convince me that the people that white men started Silicon Valley. It was white men. It didn't become. Someone told me. I was listening to Joe Atwell on the Our Interesting Times podcast, and he lives out there. And he said, if you go to like in Silicon Valley to where they have the Apple like spaceship kind of thing and everything, he goes, that's basically an engineering center. He goes, there's a reason why there's 3 Indian food restaurants across the street from it. And if you stand out there and watch them go to lunch, it's all fucking Indians. Are you telling me there's no white engineers? Then you take into consideration that, look at the numbers. Scott Adams was talking about this last week. New hires, 6% are white men. White men are over 50% of this country.
Is it
or
just
white
cheaper?
people in general.
Is it just cheaper?
Yeah.
Is that's
Well,
the reason?
I think it's that, and I think it's a fuck you to white people. I mean,
Yeah.
anyone who's been paying attention, you see they're like, there was a guy, Mark Potak, who was at the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he was doing this until he got caught. He had on his, someone snapped a picture and released it. He had in sticky notes on his computer monitor, he was every year the percentage of white men like in the United States, and he was like counting it down. He was celebrating this.
Yeah.
They celebrated openly.
They're waiting for the white men to be the minority. They've been talking about that forever. I know I've heard that like a bunch of times. Eventually you'll be a minority and then you'll see what it's like or some shit like that. That's the kind of attitude. Yeah.
And also the easiest way to do it is to, bankrupt them, make them poor. Or what they did with the opioid epidemic. My friend Trey Garrison wrote a book about it called Opioids for the Masses. In all his research, when they went into West Virginia and they were saying, oh, they're not addictive, they're perfectly fine. They gave them to India. They concentrated on giving them to Indian doctors because they knew Indian doctors weren't going to have any problems, even if they had a question about them, about giving them to white people.
Interesting. Yeah.
As a black man, I just find it abhorrent what these people are doing to y'all honkies. Honestly, it's
You
crazy.
stupid, this ginger pretending. No, it's an interesting conversation because it really like that whole spat between Elon Musk, Vivek, and Trump supporters, and all this kind of realization that they had to come to terms with. I don't know. I've been hearing, like I said, I haven't really seen a whole lot from you just because I haven't been paying attention. It's nothing that you did wrong. I just try to stay in my own little
Oh, I'm
circle.
pretty sure I did a lot wrong. I've done a lot wrong, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Well, according to the post-war consensus kind of thing.
That's fine now. The index card of allowable opinion is used as toilet paper. But anyway,
Ooh.
I don't know. I was trying to come up with something clever. I that's the best I got. Anyway, I've been hearing,
And that's why an Indian's gonna take your job.
well, that's okay. Grok took my job.
No,
did a lot of my
can I
stuff.
say? Can I
Yeah,
say?
go ahead.
Are we about to move on? Because I did want to say something. Because I want to take a step further. And
I'm
say,
not going to move on like totally. I wanted to
Okay.
ask about immigration, but go ahead. Yeah.
I just like, and it's not to say that there is nothing wrong with what we are doing right now as a society, like America. Our education system shambles. Like we could do a lot better with educating our people and reeling back all these DEI incentives at the university level so that more people who are merit-based, more people get accepted on merit-based, criteria, and then those people get into the workforce. I think it's not just like this white and black thing, I don't know.
It's a white and brown thing right now.
Yeah, because like I don't know, if you got some Chinese engineer who's like really fucking good at math, Chinese math, over some I don't know.
That's where I was kind of going with this.
Do you know the average Chinese person who gets caught spying in the United States is second or third generation? 80%.
That would
know
make
that,
sense.
but
I didn't know
Spying
that.
for China.
That would make sense because it's like less obvious, right? They're like, you've been here for a while, we're tapping you, but they have connections back in the homeland, probably. Yeah.
That's the thing is, have they become an American? It's like when my dad's family came here, they basically burned their boats. They're like, we're not fucking going back.
yeah.
We have nowhere to go. When my mom's family did the same thing, I was reading my mom's my great grandfather. I was reading the paperwork he had, so the things he had to swear to become a citizen, and this was in 1919. One of them was he wasn't an anarchist, and if you know 1919, you'll understand why, and also that he wasn't a polygamist. But I'm reading that, and he's saying I am basically renouncing any loyalty I have to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and. I mean, do they even make people do that anymore? Do people even care? Do people feel that when they come here? I mean, what percentage do?
Yeah.
People who are coming here on a visa are not. People coming here on a visa are coming here to work.
Right.
Okay, that's it. They're a contractor. If I've contracted out with when I was in the private sector, I contracted out all the myself a couple times to a couple companies. I was here for a paycheck. I wasn't loyal to them. I wasn't thinking about getting a gold watch in 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, you don't care about that company's culture or anything about what their core values are. It's like, fuck all that. Give me my fucking money and I'm going home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I think that's like important distinction there too. And that's kind of where I was going to lead the conversation next, was kind of moving from immigration. Like, okay, these immigrants are coming here and they're taking all our jobs, the meme, the whole thing. But then it's kind of also like, now there's another discussion that's being had, like a difference between nationalism and protectionism, because, it's not, Rob was kind of talking about a merit-based system or something like that. And there's an argument that could be made that, like, if there's somebody who's better at the job from another country, maybe they come, maybe they don't. But that's not the same as, nationalism. The way I interpret nationalism is just having pride for your country, being, respecting the values, understanding what it means to be an American, what that's all about, and then embracing that and embodying that and trying to live that out. that's kind of how I view nationalism generally. And then for protectionism, though, it's kind of like, well, even if it hurts us, we're going to do it for our people. Like where you like, I don't know, maybe you're the more eloquent one. Okay, I'm going to drink and talk shit, but you go ahead and like where are you at on that divide? Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add to the question, because
Sure.
you kind of mentioned this whole globalism aspect as well, which ties into this. So, just what's your take on, having what Tim said, having goods and labor abroad coming into the United States, and should we be protectionist, or what should we do in that aspect if we can provide goods to our citizens for cheaper, and let's just say it's not child labor. Like don't say like it's child labor everywhere or something like that. Let's
Their
just
hands
say
are smaller and they can fit in the gears better.
I don't even.
Yeah.
I don't even care about that. I don't think.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Okay.
most kids should be working from the time they're 12 years old.
Yeah.
When I think of a nation, I go back to Rothbard's article from like 1994, Nations by Consent. And the way he described a nation was he described the people. That's it. Nationalism is about your people. It's about who are your people, and who are your people you're willing to fight for, you're willing to die for, you're willing to sacrifice for. And that's not what we're importing. These people who are coming here, these H-1Bs, why are none of these H-1Bs like Swedish? Why are they like not German? Why aren't they from Western Europe? Because part of it is about, well, we don't like white people. Two is they command too much money. And, three, they want to punish us by bringing in people who are not like us and come from a completely different culture. So all nationalism to me is caring about your people. And I think you should do anything you can to protect that. Now, so I'll think back to the essay that every libertarian tells you to, you're told to read. I pencil.
Oh yeah.
You cannot make a pencil unless it has to come from, you're getting materials from 12, 10, 20 different nations. Okay, that's great. Are you sure? You sure we can't get it here? Okay, you want to get everything you can possibly here, or at least as local as possible. Two, are they pushing it on you, or are you going to them for it? Or is there some kind of deal being made that they're somehow taking advantage of us? Yeah, that's the kind of things you have to take into consideration. There was a Friedrich List was a 19th century economist, German. Was over in Germany, came to the United States, wrote a bunch of letters back and forth to Congress. This was after Tocqueville came here, and basically he was describing how he thought the American economy could work best. And he said the way it worked best is you have free trade within your country, and then you have tariffs without. And one of the reasons he was big on tariffs was he saw the Portuguese at the time were the biggest wine. They had some of the best wine in the world. People wanted this wine all over Europe, all over the world. Well, some Portuguese guy decided he didn't want to have it. He wasn't going to. He was, and this was a big industry. And the biggest Portuguese wine owner decided, oh, well, I'm going to export all this, and it's all going to get done in England. And basically, Portugal's economy started taking a hit, and England's getting stronger at their and Portugal's getting weaker. I mean, this goes back to what's more important, your nation and your people, or your pocketbook.
Right.
I mean, a lot of these guys, your bank account. A lot of these guys are. I mean, they just don't care. It's about Elon Musk doesn't. Elon Musk wants to go to the moon.
Mars.
People or Mars.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well,
No, you're good.
Maybe he can
Probably
start.
the moon
Maybe he can
too.
start.
We haven't
Maybe he
been
can
to the
start with
moon
the
yet,
moon.
so yeah. Go ahead.
Maybe he can start. Maybe he can start with the moon. But if he wants to go to Mars, think about that. That means he's not even really like loyal to this world.
Right.
Is he really loyal to his country?
Well, he would say that he's for humanity and he wants humanity to extend beyond Earth. Yeah.
That's retarded. He's what has he done for what has he done for South Africa where he's from?
He left.
And white people are being destroyed. White people are being
Yeah.
families and farmers are being murdered there and destroyed. And what has he done there? So I mean, the fact that that all this H-1B stuff would come out and he'd be like, fuck you, turn into Grossman from Tropic Thunder telling people to fuck them, fuck, which is ironic too, considering what and who the character is and supposed to represent. I don't see. Here's the thing: if you were to convince me 100% that we don't have the homegrown talent to go to the moon,
right?
I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I don't believe that at all. I think that Elon is looking at the bottom line, and that's why he wants to bring in, Infinity Jeets. And then there are people who are going to push him to do that because they know it's going to fuck up our culture. So, I mean, Elon could be doing this, and he doesn't even realize what he's doing, even though he is fucking over our people. Because I'm sorry, the greatest scientific discoveries of all time were made by white boys with pocket protectors, nerds.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there is this like divide, right, between like what's the most efficient or like what's the most profitable way to get something done. Like the whole argument with iPencil is that it's not that you can't do it all in one location. It's that it makes sense to do it in multiple locations because you can get the rubber cheaper over here, the metal cheaper over there, all these kinds of things. The wood is cheaper here and there. And then you bring all those things together. And like that's the argument for iPencil. But there is something to be said about your culture and everything that you lose in between. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice for the efficiency, for the profitability, for the GDP? What are you willing to sacrifice for that? Is the culture of America worth 3 points on our GDP? I don't know. Probably not.
Well, I mean, and that's the problem with being with libertarians is line go up is everything.
Right.
The line has to keep going up, and if the line goes down, even for a short period of time, that's a signal.
Well, the libertarians should know the line's always going to go up. That's called inflation. It's that simple. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, and just honestly, one of the other problems I have with libertarians is that they say all these things need to change, but they're not. How are they going to change them?
Yeah.
Howard Lutnick
don't have the ability, no ability to change anything. Yeah.
Right. Howard Lutnick, who's the Commerce Secretary, former, I think he may still be the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. He was talking about a Bitcoin reserve. They wanted to make Bitcoin an M1 reserve. And people started, it basically caused this to blow up and everything. And people started freaking out. And people were like, libertarians are like, yeah, this is it. This is it. We're going to have, it's like, okay. Look, I know enough about Bitcoin, and a lot of those people who are screaming, I probably have more Bitcoin than you, even though I don't really trust it. I have a pretty good idea where it came from and what its whole purpose was in the beginning, but I know it can't be fractionalized. I know that Bitcoin can't be fractionalized, but they're like, oh, we're going to have a Bitcoin standard. And you're only going to be able to print a certain amount of money to match a certain amount of Bitcoin. Well, says who?
Yeah.
Says who? I mean, the gold, if you go to like the city of London, not the whole city of London with the bad teeth and everything, but there's a 1 square mile city of London that is completely different. It's not even
its own entity. Yeah.
It's its own entity. They lend money. I mean, that's where all the banks are. They lend money there against gold. They don't lend money. They don't say, oh, we have $1 trillion worth of gold. We're going to lend $1 trillion. They go, no, we have $1 trillion lend of gold. We're going to lend $10 trillion.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
the same thing that they're going to do with the Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah.
I know. I've been told by people behind the scenes that that's exactly what's going to happen. They can't fractionalize Bitcoin. They can't fractionalize what's on the blockchain, but they can use it as a reserve. And
Right.
so unless there's a libertarian in charge to make sure that doesn't happen, then nothing changes. You can still have infinity fucking wars. You
Yeah.
can still finance infinity wars.
Yeah, even if we go to a gold standard, you know, it doesn't matter if you have fractional reserve banking. That's a good point. It doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, and we'll just
Yeah.
pretend that we have gold that we don't have. And then when we come calling for it, we'll say, hey,
Exactly,
we're
yeah.
going to move to this thing called oil. It's the old runaround you get
You
with.
don't even have to
Hey,
do
You know who has
that.
gold now? India. You know who has gold now? India has gold. Russia
No, we should
has
we
gold.
should bring them over and take their gold and send them back. How about that?
That's what I'm saying.
at least 10% of that gold was scammed out of old ladies.
That's
who
right.
scam calls to in America. That 10% is ours.
I did
for
look it
sure.
up. H-1B visa programs. I wanted to see by country. Top 5 countries. Ready? India, China, Chile, Singapore, and then Australia. Those are the top 5.
Singapore is really weird for being number 4 considering how small it is.
It's AI. You know, it could be wrong, but that was a quick search.
Singapore also has its own thing going on. Like they actually don't they don't enjoy a lot of American tourists over there, and I think they primarily speak English.
They're extremely racist
Yeah.
too against other Asians.
Yeah,
they get very specific.
yeah.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me that there was a Japanese they were in Singapore, and they were in a Japanese restaurant, and a Chinese person came in and asked like for directions or something, and the person looked at him and said, "Get the fuck out."
Yeah.
It's
they're
kinda
just,
like
completely rude to each other.
Start
Hey,
of like
Brandon Walsh in the chat.
Yeah. What's up?
start of a bar joke right there. A Singapore, a Chinese, and a Japanese walk into this start of a joke there. Singapore is just weird, dude. Like you can't litter gum. You know, that's fine. It's like a $5,000 fine, and if you get ticketed, I think most of their tickets work like this. They roll up on you with like the card taker right there. Like you pay right then. Like you're getting fucked right now.
Yeah.
They're pretty much they're pretty famous for their culture being very honest. Like if you drop your wallet and someone picks it up and they know it was you, they'll run after you. Or if you ask someone for directions, they'll actually take you to where you're going. You know that. And if you're going to have a multicultural society,
Sure.
then maybe you're going to have the threat of violence hanging over people's heads. You know, with where if you step out of line a little bit and spit a little gum on the ground, then
You could lose your tongue.
yeah.
20 lashes. Yeah. What was it there, or was it Malaysia that lashed the dude in the Clinton presidency?
Only you
That
would
was
know.
Singapore.
Okay.
That was
you would
Singapore.
know.
Yeah, Singapore cane. That's Singapore cane.
I remember. I'm old enough. I remember watching that on TV and them reporting, and it's like, oh, it's so terrible and everything. I'm like, he was in another country and he fucked up. I've been to other countries. You're on your best behavior.
Yeah, you
know,
better
it's like-
be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the guy in North Korea who went to North Korea and he tried.
I was
to,
gonna
like,
ask
steal
you. I was gonna
the
ask. Do you
thing.
feel the same? Do you feel the same about that guy? Oh, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're in North Korea.
Yeah, don't fuck around, dude.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't step out of line.
I know it's the Pentumpkin Village or whatever it's called. It's all fake and all that bullshit, but you better be on your best behavior. You're gonna see the other side real quick. Yeah. And I agree with you. If you're in another country, you kind of do got to be on your best behavior. I did want to go back to you were saying libertarians got the wrong idea about this, that, or the other thing. Here, your 2 favorite people, I guess, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy running Doge. So I guess your prospects for that are not high. You don't think it's going to work out?
You know,
Yeah.
the way I look at it is, I don't expect much.
So if
But
you
if
get a level, it's
something
good.
if something happens, it's just a bonus. You know, I mean, I was all 100% for Trump over Biden and then Harris, only because I know that you wouldn't have had this whole thing with H-1B. they wouldn't have even talked about it. I mean, check out how many H-1B came in under Biden.
Yeah.
You know, at least on Twitter, people are getting screamed at. Elon is getting screamed at. They're hearing and they're like reading this and they're reacting to it. And I'm glad it happened because, I mean, mea culpa. I was tricked by Vivek. I thought Vivek was our guy. He quotes James Burnham. I'm like, this is my guy. Someone who understands that we have a managerial state. Managerial state needs to be torn down. We need to go to like an Article 2 kind of executive, and just have one person running the government.
Yeah.
And then you find out he wants infinity fucking Indians because he's a fucking Indian, and he wants and they're like and they have bigger in-group preference than that other group that runs everything.
Right.
And
you can say it. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're the only. They have a much bigger in-group preference.
Sure.
So he wants all those people. He wants all his people to come in, and he's like, and fuck Americans, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, you fucking street shitter. I mean, and this is a guy.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who became. A billionaire through a pump and dump scheme. I mean, he like bought his mom, like hooked him up with some research that they knew wasn't going to work on Alzheimer's drugs. And like the only drug he did push through that made any money was like a hormone blocker. So it was a trans drug.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
really,
Vivek.
So now your granny who's losing her memory can grow a penis.
Yeah.
A
Well-
ring a ding a ding a ding ding ding.
and it's probably going to be bigger than any Indian penis out there.
Probably. Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at is like, you would think on the outset of it, because like I do think, I don't know, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you've changed your mind, but I've always known you as a libertarian guy, as a guy that had more libertarian ideals about how the world should be and how it should be run, or like how things should operate. Just talking about philosophy, not talking about party or anything like that. You got the meme, libertarian ideas, libertarian candidates. You're a libertarian ideas guy, not a libertarian candidates guy. That's how I've always viewed you. And then when I see like all this other stuff about nationalism and about, pride for your country and culture and those things, Vivek sounds like the right guy, right? Because he's talking about, he came to the LP convention and then beyond that has been talking about the divide between, he keeps promoting libertarian nationalism. You think he's full of shit on that? Or is it like,
Well, he got booed really bad.
He can get booed by whoever he wants. I think the name sounds good, but is what he's attributing to that name, is that bullshit? Is that what you're saying? Like, because you're saying
like it is bullshit.
Yeah.
Nationalism implies a people.
Yeah.
Okay, so who are the nationalists? What's the nation?
It should be American nationalists. It should be.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm one of those people I'm still very sympathetic to libertarian ideas, but I'm also one of those people who understands that if you get a libertarian society, it's going to be all white Western Europeans.
You think so? There's no other. Yeah,
libertarians. Yeah, that's one of the open borders libertarians, and I was an open borders libertarian at one point because I hate the cops, and it's like, oh well, we need the cops to do that. Yeah. I still hate the cops, but they're for different reasons. But you can't. That's like the open borders libertarians. They're like, oh, we have to have these people. It's like, look, you have a whole country full of people you're going to have to sell libertarianism to. You're going to invite people who shit in the streets to come in. You're going to invite people from Central America who are, maybe legitimately struggling. And what they're going to read Rothbard, what are you handing them copies of Anatomy of the State in Spanish as they come over the border? Look, you can't import. If you want a libertarian society, you can't import tons and tons and have unlimited people coming in who don't know anything about libertarianism.
Yeah,
it makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
And you can argue with me all you want. I'm right. I know more than you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've been studying this longer than you. I have a fucking, if you don't think I understand libertarianism, go look at my documentary and tell me what's wrong in it.
Yeah, Monopoly of Violence is really good.
Libertarian. I understand libertarianism. It just doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work in a multicultural society. Doesn't work. Look at what's happening to our society. I mean, we have fucking vets doing friggin' like German style, festival drive,
Yeah.
fucking car attacks. And you have another vet who's blowing up a fucking Cybertruck, even if that was him. I mean, that's such a
Yeah.
fucking bullshit story. Yeah, and I had a former Delta Force guy on my show to talk about that. He's like, yeah, he goes, the guy wouldn't have a Desert Eagle. Anybody would make fun of you if you had a Desert Eagle. He's like, normies don't know you don't buy a Desert Eagle.
Yeah.
So I mean, open borders is, Sean Kennedy says, open borders is globalism. It's globalism. You cannot have a functioning society. You cannot have a libertarian society if people can just walk in. And if your goal is to get to a libertarian society, then you're going to start excluding people now.
Yeah.
You don't wait. You don't wait until half of fucking Delhi lives, is in your. I mean, there's a town, I think Brampton, Ontario. 85% of that town in Canada is Indian.
They're doing great, huh? They got it. They're going to the moon. They're going to the moon, dude.
They have signs. Yeah, they have signs on the beaches in Canada saying "Don't shit on the beach."
Don't shit on the beach. Please
Really?
don't shit on the beach.
I mean,
Is that real?
Or maybe that's libertarian. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
and that's been my problem with libertarians generally is like, we got to get rid of the libertines. We got to fix this shit. You have to be willing to exclude some people. You got to say, you're not, you don't represent us well. And there's just no willingness to do it. And I think it's a culture within libertarians to just say, yeah, we're open borders because fuck, like you said before, like, I think it's a very naive take on it, but it's basically, we don't like the police, we don't like government, so they shouldn't control the borders, and then therefore anyone can come in and do whatever they want. And that's just stupid. But
yeah, because it's not even taken into.
Mind you, we have a government that has allowed people to pour over the border. Okay.
Right.
What if we get a government that won't? What if we get a government who will say, no, you cannot come? It's like, what I mean, what I've been saying recently is Vlad the Impaler had some really good ideas. There's a meme going around that says good neighbors, walls make good neighbors.
Yeah.
And then you see Vlad and he says bad neighbors make good walls.
That's right. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I mean,
that's why
you're gonna have to start killing people. I mean, literally, you're gonna have to start shooting people if they break the law. And breaking the law is coming over the border.
Yeah.
Well, Vivek does want to bomb Mexico, so that's another thing. Maybe he can.
Yeah, maybe you're in more agreement than you think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, who's allowed the cartels to run free? I mean, a movie that I'd seen 10 years ago, and recently my guys at the Old Glory Club reviewed it, and I've watched it like 3 times in the last month, is Sicario.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it yet.
Go back and watch that movie.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, it'll just tell you white boys can get anything done when they want to, and women shouldn't be. It's the greatest message. Women shouldn't be. The story of it is women shouldn't be in law enforcement. White boys can get anything done they want, and a lot of times you're going to have to do business with the devil you know.
Yeah.
Sicario.
That's reality.
I'm going to add it to my list
Sicario.
of movies to watch.
You will freak it's so good. It's so, and part 2 is really good too. So yeah, and they're doing part 3 now, which kind of excited for, but I'm hoping they don't fuck that up.
Is it on Netflix or anything? Sorry, is it on?
Sicario. Sicario should be on Amazon Prime.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
Right next to Monopoly of Violence, isn't that?
Yeah. Plug that, dude. Plug that. I watched Monopoly of Violence like 4 times, probably back to back when you first dropped it.
I don't know how long.
Yeah,
it's just a wealth of knowledge. I think like 2020, 2021, maybe.
We've actually talked about re-editing it.
Yeah,
re-editing it in a little more realist, like a little more like a decentralized. Take out a little bit of the anarchy kind of stuff to it, and concentrate on like what seems realistic in society, what can actually get done, and yeah.
So what do you
see? Kyle Matovic's in the chat.
Yeah, our seed oil captain. Yeah,
That may be the only thing he and I disagree on.
that's okay. We'll keep bringing it up. It's how he stays relevant. Chuck, you only gave $2. That's not the $5 minimum, but I'll take a drink anyway because I love you. I do want to ask you that though. Is like what is realistic? What do you realistically expect out of this second Trump administration now that it's I was hoping back in my mind when we set up the interview however many weeks ago, I was like, I really hope there's a leftist January 6th thing so that we can come on here and talk about that. They didn't do nothing, those fucking bitches. Okay.
Yeah.
They just made the DNC is great at cucking women of the Democratic Party. They had Hillary, they finally gave her a shot and then she lost to Trump. And now they've got Kamala and they make her officiate. She's like officiating the wedding of her ex-husband or some shit like that is basically what it feels like. Like there's, I don't know, something poetic about her being the one to say that Trump beat her. That was interesting. But anyway, realistic. What do you think is actually going to come of a Trump administration? I think we're going to be on the same page. I'm pretty pessimistic about this. I feel like he lied a lot the first time, and this time's not going to be any different, and we're not going to get much change. It's just going to keep getting worse.
Really, the only thing I care about is immigration at this point. I mean, that's it. And remigration, kicking people out. You don't even really have to kick a lot of people. I mean, you're going to have to kick some people out, but you can pass all sorts of codes and things and really go after employers that are hiring illegals, and the people will leave on their own. This has happened before where we've had large masses of illegals leave because there's just nothing for them there. That's all I'm hoping for, and just that right wingers get left alone.
Yeah.
And one of my things is regionalism, localism. And I think this gives you some breathing room, a little bit of breathing room to be able to go ahead and do that, find your people. I already know intentional communities where people are moving to, and they're doing it under different kinds of legal protections where they can exclude people to get around the Civil Rights Act. And Shelley, what was that? Shelley v. Kramer, 1948. Which they basically said you couldn't exclude someone from a community. But I also know people who, I know one town right now that like people just kind of organically just started moving there. And now it's like, it's full of some of the most base people that I know, some of the best people I know. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think that we're just going to see people reversing the multiculturalism on their own and going back to finding their own people. I mean, to a certain extent, New York City is still segregated, and people do that on their own. People have a tendency to do that on their own. It was definitely very segregated and on purpose. I mean, this was like voluntary in the early 20th century. I mean, you'd have one street where it was people from South Germany, and the next street would be people who were from the eastern side of Germany.
Little India, Little China. You always have these little communities. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you still have Chinatown there. You still have Little Italy. And there are people, you still have Italian neighborhoods in the Bronx still. And I think that's what the future is. And I think that's what Trump allows. I think Trump is going to allow people who understand that there's really no national answers. There's no real answer to it. I mean, we've been occupied since World War II. The same powers that occupy us occupy Europe. And as long as you're under occupation, there's no hope and for the national, for taking down that occupation until that occupation is taken down. And, I don't know when that'll happen. My friend Thomas thinks it could take 100 years. It'll happen, but it'll take 100 years. But in the meantime, we just find our own people, and we make our stand where we are. And I think that's all we can do. And I know libertarians talk about that, but it's not. Libertarians try to make it like they came up with that idea. Well, I mean, it's just nature. It's just nature. Now you're doing it intentionally. So if you have a bunch of people who are sympathetic to 1920s and 30s National Socialism, maybe they should all go and congregate in a certain area and do that. And and you're going to see black people do the same thing.
Yeah.
You're going to see them go find their own.
They
And
love
I
doing it.
think
They love doing it. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
community up in Georgia where no one even talks about, but it's all black and.
Can I
it
go
already
there?
it already fell apart.
Oh,
Oh,
you know
that's
the one I'm
great.
talking about?
Yeah, it already fell
Okay.
apart
Oh
because
man.
the woman who organized it was cheating everybody.
Oh, it happens. It
I
happens.
wanted to go visit. Now I have nothing to do this weekend. Okay.
You would hope
So,
thered be some really good barbecue, but
Right. Yeah.
it's like my buddy DE says. He says, if I'm gonna eat barbecue, I want it to be like some fat red-faced Scotch Irish guy or the blackest guy on the planet,
yeah,
running the pit.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I don't, when I go get Chinese food, if they can barely speak English, that's good Chinese food.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to speak Chinese to order the food,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. That's a good place. But if I answer and you got some white girl answers the phone, I'm just going to hang up. I'm going to go somewhere else. You don't have good food.
No, well, like I used to live in Auburn,
Mhm.
and Auburn has like the Mexican restaurant that I found there. I went in there the first time, and 3/4 of the tables were Mexicans eating. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is probably pretty good. And the
They
same
know
thing
about it.
when we found a Chinese place. First time we went to that Chinese place, it was like we were like the only white people in there.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, all right, this is it. And then it turned out that it was wonderful, and that was like at the end of 2022 when service, because of COVID and the competency crisis, service was really, really, really bad in
Mhm.
a lot of places. Oh, but if you went into an ethnic place, it was
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah.
Everything was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
they got
maybe
that. Maybe they don't get kicked out.
you know what Chuck's talking about here. He's talking about special economic zones, regulation and tax free or minimal. Is that like how they're getting around the excluding people? I don't know. Is that what he's talking about? Maybe I'm missing
No, it's
something, Chuck.
I think he's
Explain
talking
that.
about he's talking about a solution here, right?
if you look in my if you look in my feed, my podcast feed,
Mhm.
and you search a guy named Peter Seri, it's CSERE. He explains exactly how they're doing it in Arkansas right now in the Ozarks.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I do think there's going to be this huge battle over immigration. I don't know that it's going to go the way anyone wants it to go, but I don't think that, there's a lot of people, the MAGA people obviously think that Trump's going to root out all corruption and everything's going to be great. And that's fucking stupid.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So, someone's saying, who still buys food from Invader restaurants? I was at the American Renaissance Conference a couple months ago. Jared Taylor, everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I left, wife and I left and we wanted to go get something to eat. It's like, oh, there's a Mexican restaurant. Isn't it funny that we're eating a Mexican restaurant at the American Renaissance Conference, and then a bunch of other people come in from the American Renaissance
It's good
Conference?
food, man. You can have good food. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. 100%. Dude, I'm a big foodie, and I do like that's one thing that holds me back on the saying send them all back is I want to be fat. I like all this food.
You're muted or
That's- yeah.
something.
We have
Yeah, go ahead.
we
No,
have,
you're
we
back.
have the we have the recipes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We have
okay.
the recipes. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't sneak in some of that Indian sweat though. That's what really makes the tikka masala pop. Honestly,
So gross.
Uh,
So,
the-
have
they
you ever
scoop
lived
the
around
hand.
Indians? Have you ever worked with Indians or lived around Indians?
I have.
It'll cure you of any kind of romanticism about this ancient culture. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no, it's
I work with
been-
one, but he's a lawyer. No, I don't work with him, but like I
Oh,
went
so
to
you
law
can't
school with him
say.
as a colleague. I've known him since I guess middle school now, pretty much. Yeah, grew up and stuff like that. But I do see what you were saying about them being exclusive. Like they are very exclusive.
In-group
who they
preference.
pick. Yes, in group preference. That 100%. I see that, and it's a tough conversation to have when you're talking about the cultural identity of what the nation you want to be would be.
Yeah.
And so someone has to have it, and you're the perfect person for it, Pete.
Yeah, some bald white guy. That'll work out well.
No, I worked with this Indian guy for a while, and he was lower caste, He wore a toupee.
Oh, that is such a such a good diss for like if you have any Indian friends at home to be like, "Oh, you lower caste, dude." That's a deep cut right there, dude.
He so
Oh
he
no.
wore a toupee, and
Nice.
he had dandruff. He had dandruff in his toupee. How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Oh, he sprinkles a little bit of that fake dandruff on during the day just to convince other people that
You
his
don't
hair is
understand.
actually
It looks more real when I put it in there.
they believe
No,
it's
the
real
guy,
dandruff.
the Indian guy I had on my show last week. I mean, he basically said, he goes, if you go by their houses and you're like, why does it? They're in America. Why does it smell? He's like, because they want it that way. He goes, it. They thrive on chaos. Like
Yeah.
they literally need that. They need that smell. They need things to not be in order in order to survive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, these are not culture matters. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I
think
do think it does. Yeah.
a lot of libertarians, especially Hoppians, Hoppians have known that for a while, but I think a lot more libertarians are coming to the realization that it's like, okay, if I want the kind of economics I want, or the kind of society that I want, you're gonna have to exclude a lot of fucking people
Yeah.
because their culture just doesn't match up with it, and Hoppe took a lot of shit for saying, some people are just going to have to be physically removed. And he was talking about from a covenant community that was already established. But I mean, I think we're getting to the, yeah. I had my buddy Clay Martin on the show. I just released it a couple hours ago, and he's former Delta. And I asked him, I said, "Do you think we have terrorist cells in this country right now?" And he's like,
Of course.
"Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." And he said, "Probably like 10,000 people." He goes, "And they're not who you think they are." He goes, some of it's going to be from China.
Hmm.
Some of it's going to be from Russia, especially considering what we've done to them in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He goes, and we're not talking about people who are here who are working menial labor. These are people who are here and who have good jobs and are funded, and they're just they're like waiting for something. That's why I'm so big on regionalism and getting the hell out of cities and things like that, is because I do think we're going to come to a point where there's going to be patches of violence
Yeah.
in this country, and it's going to be fucking ugly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I
going to be
don't.
fucking ugly.
Yeah, I don't see it going well. I've become more pessimistic, you know, and I do think there's like I don't know if there's a move towards it. Maybe I just want to feel that way because I feel myself more moving towards that, where culture is becoming a little more important as I get older. I have kids now. My kids are getting older, and it's like I want to be in a place where they're going to have a good future, and some of these ideals or whatever, although like on paper or whatever, it might seem like the best option, to allow the free movement of people. At the same time, not everybody needs to be my neighbor. Okay, there's some people that should just stay over there, and so I
I mean,
definitely feel that more.
there's people
Yeah.
who are already here who you don't want to be your
Oh
neighbor.
yeah, I know that
Yeah.
they're right outside.
So
Yeah.
people don't
Yeah.
even take that into consideration. Is that and I already said this about the you know about immigration, is
Mhm.
if your goal, that's why I have this theory that libertarians are probably the most black-pilled people on the planet, because one, they want something, they construct their whole worldview around "I told you so."
Yeah.
It's like, look, I told you this was going to happen, and I have the solution to it. Okay, what's your solution? Well, we just got to end the state. We got to end public schooling. And all of these aren't realistic things. These aren't things that you have the power to do. So who's going to do that for you? So you may be able to diagnose the problem right, but your solutions, even if your solutions would work, you actually consider the power that it would take to do it immoral, whatever immoral
Right.
means in a
Yeah.
materialistic mindset. which which a lot of libertarians have.
Yeah.
So
And then you're condemned to just wave your fist in the air for the rest of your life.
yeah, yeah, you can make fun of I know some libertarians I've heard make fun of Bill Buckley, who said that conservatism was just standing your ground and saying stop, yelling stop or something. Look, Ron Paul. I didn't really know anything about politics till 2007 when I saw Ron Paul up on the debate stage. And I started going down the hole of libertarianism and learning about libertarianism. And, people were talking about the Ron Paul revolution. And the whole thing about 2024 was supposed to be, oh, we're going to run Dave Smith and we're going to re-kick off the Ron Paul revolution. Okay, first of all, it's 12 years later.
Yeah.
A lot has changed. Second of all, what did Ron really accomplish? Did the world get any better? I think there were some people who got better, some people who were able to, maybe he inspired Bitcoin, maybe a bunch of things. But really, the world hasn't gotten better. And why? Because libertarians don't concentrate on culture, and culture is the most important thing. You shouldn't be, if you want to scream about something, scream about fucking infinite Jeets coming in the country. You're not going to have libertarianism if you have infinite Jeets. I'm sorry. They don't understand the non-aggression principle. Most people who are not, you have to, I would say Northern and Western Europeans are really the only ones who even look at that and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's just not Brandon Walsh corrected me. Standing athwart history yelling stop.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what libertarians do. It's like, well, we have the answers. Well, what are your answers? We
Stop.
got in the state, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, how you do that? It's the same thing of like having, I want Bitcoin to be an M1 reserve. I want there to be a Bitcoin standard. All right, who's going to be there to make sure that the money that's being lent against it isn't being fractionalized?
Yeah, not us. It's not us. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that too, because it's you're not going to have, if the culture doesn't appreciate liberty and freedom and they much prefer security, then you're just going to get more state. So like that's kind of how I view it. Like there's no culture of wanting to be free. There's a culture of I need things given to me and taken care of me, and that's kind of the culture that America has cultivated over time. And
that's what H-1B is. All H-1B is welfare.
Yeah,
it's just welfare for foreigners.
It's
because
for the third world.
less. They're getting less money than a heritage American would get. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, you're just importing welfare whores.
Yeah,
and you're killing the market simultaneously.
And something that Giant Bhandari, the Indian I keep referencing that I interviewed, who was at Hoppa's conference last year. I don't know. I didn't meet him.
Okay. All right, sorry.
But he, one of the things he said was, he said these aren't even good workers. He called them copy and paste workers. And if you know anything about, I mean, I'm not a coder, but I know a lot of coders. That's what it is, right? It's like, oh, right, this piece of code is broken. Do you know it? Do you know how to fix it? And they just copy and paste it, and they go, and that's a lot of what they do. They're not changing the world. They're not changing the world. I mean, it was German scientists who were stolen from Germany in 1945 who changed the world. White guys, white Europeans. They're the ones who changed the world. They're the ones who figured things. They're the ones who created the internet. They're the one. It wasn't Infinity Jeets.
Nazis, to be exact, right?
I'm fine with that. I have no problem with them.
I was thinking about that earlier today. I was finishing a book Jeffrey Hahn was writing, and part of it was talking about Operation Paperclip. And I was thinking, like, on the side there, I was like, you know what? If they were really the smartest and they had it figured out and they helped us get to the moon, I mean, maybe it was worth it. I don't know, bringing those scientists over. But yeah.
Well, we were just wrong about one thing. Just one thing.
I mean, would you have rather the Russians got them?
Right. Yeah. I mean, somebody was going to get them, right? Your choices were kill them or put them to work.
Yeah. And I mean,
and they got some of them too, right? They got a bunch of the old Nazi scientists over there.
They did get some. But that war wasn't about anything other than just stopping Germany, because Germany was a nationalist movement.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, there were some there was some land they wanted to take, but they considered it to be historically German land. So I mean, that whole thing Daryl Cooper Martyr Made is gonna in like a week is gonna release his first episode on the real World War II from the German point of view. And I mean, I think this is gonna blow people away because
Who's doing
look,
that?
Daryl Cooper Martyr Made
Okay.
podcast. Yeah, he's the one who did the 27-hour Fear and Loathing in New Jerusalem that
We
Dave talks about all the time.
we either had him on or we have been recommended to have him on several times. I
Daryl
think
Cooper?
Sean Kennedy might have talked about him at one point actually in the chat.
He's
So,
he's
yeah.
I mean he's the one who went on Tucker and said that the villain of World War II was Winston Churchill, and he got denounced by the White House.
Amazing. Like him already. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another thing people are looking forward to in the Trump administration, Kash Patel. Isn't he one of the good ones? Isn't he? He's going to expose some corruption.
Well, I mean, even if he doesn't dismantle the FBI, he'll just create an environment of Bobs and Vagine that are going to be so disruptive that they won't get anything done. You know?
I'm gonna come.
All right. No, you are just tearing apart my favorite Indians
Do not
tonight.
come.
Vivek and
I'm gonna
Still
come.
it's still
gotta do
going.
it.
You
Yeah.
gotta
I'm
turn it
gonna
off.
come.
You got to turn it off, Rob. God damn it!
that's not me.
I'm not doing anything.
That's
That's
not
me.
me.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Nice.
Well, then it's acceptable. All right.
Yeah, I farted Jeremy Kaufman
Oh
off
my
our
gosh.
podcast one time.
That's not how it happened, but sure.
Yeah, there's a fart noise on here, and I thought Jeremy was like a comedian. I do comedy, and so I was. Whatever. Anyway,
you were saying he's shitting on all your favorite Indians.
yeah. Well, the farting on Jeremy Coffin was not well received. He did not receive it well. But yeah, you're shitting on all my favorite Indians. I like Kash Patel. I did like Vivek a lot. I think I still do like Vivek. I haven't really dove deep into what he said about all of this, but I do like Doge and all of that. I might have higher.
I mean,
hopes for him.
we're not getting rid of him. If Trump wants to get rid of him eventually, that's fine. Just hopefully they can do something good while they're in there, something that'll benefit heritage Americans and not every fucking Jeet in friggin' India.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, what's most they talk about, oh well, if you want to win a sport, if you're a sports team and you want to win, you got to get the best talent from all
Right.
over. First of all, you're gonna have to convince me that this is the best talent because it looks like you're going for the cheapest talent.
Yeah.
If you're going for the cheapest talent, you're going to finish 0-16 if you're in the NFL. Or is it
Yeah.
0-18 now? I don't know how many games
Who
they play.
cares?
0-16.
Yeah.
0-16, yeah. Still. Yep.
Rob cares. That's who cares.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a sports guy. I would also like to say that my Indian friend does not stink. He actually very clean guy. Whole family very clean.
It's just
But
Eric.
he's upper
He's
caste.
still going back.
He's
still
upper
going
caste.
back.
Yeah. He's been here a minute. I don't think he's going. They have a lot of hotels. They're
So
very well off.
how far back do we need to go to send him back? And what I mean by that is there's been a big debate about birthright citizenship, right? And that shouldn't be a thing. And we were having this discussion in our Discord. I don't think that there should be like this anchor baby law where like immigrants can just come in, have a baby, and now they get citizenship or whatever. That's fucking bullshit.
That's how Vivek's a citizen. His mom. I don't think his parents are citizens.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think you can
So-
do it now, though. Like, I don't think you can retroactively remove someone. I think it just has to start, right?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. When you have,
No, go for it. Go for it.
You can, if you have cancer, you can
Mhm.
start treating the cancer, but eventually the doctor's going to say, well, you're going to have to cut it out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know how you go forward with people who aren't loyal to the nation, to the people.
Yeah.
This Frankenstein Indian guy who's like the head, like he's like an AI. He's going to be an AI advisor to David Sachs as the AI czar or something like that. He's the one who started this whole thing. I mean, the guy looks like a fucking monster. I mean, if you saw him, he literally looks like he should have bolts coming out of his neck.
He's black?
But he said,
No,
he's
man.
Indian.
Sorry.
And he said
That was racist as
He's
fuck. I'm sorry.
no, it's fun. Racism saves lives.
Oh shit! I
Um,
think I found the guy. Okay, yeah, go ahead, keep talking. I'll pull him up.
you know
Pull
who
him
I'm
up.
talking. You see
I
his hair,
see. I
his head,
see.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to get it up
Yeah.
on the screen here. Yeah.
Well, he said they're talking about how they're talking about that we need the best Indians to come over. He's one of the best Indians. There's video of him. Yeah, that guy. There's
Damn, he does look like Frankenstein though. He does look like Frankenstein though, like the quintessential Frankenstein.
Yeah. I didn't want to interrupt you,
but
but I did want to bring him up. Yeah.
No, that's pretty crazy.
no. That seals it. But there's video of him going. I'm not even a coder. He goes, I'm just a really good talker. And I'm like, okay, so he's a salesman. We don't have white guys in this country. We don't have enough Jews who are good salesmen in this country
Right.
already.
Yeah.
Well, we have to but the greatest Jeet salesman in the world. Of course, he's a good salesman. They're fucking liars and cheats. I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, and that's back to what we were saying earlier is I think that is like a huge problem of it is they're lying. We're not getting like the best and brightest that we can't find here. We're getting the cheapest available labor is what we're doing. And like you said too, it's all here for a paycheck. It's not here because they care about America or they've embraced its values. I don't know what I missed, but go ahead.
No, it's the last comment.
Turtleneck.
Oh,
Yeah,
Cash
Cash
Patel's
Patel.
photo?
Yeah, Cash Patel, he's got those deep like eye bags that look like he's seen just years and years of trauma. Like I don't know
The
what's
1,000
going
yard
on.
stare.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of
This is,
crazy the look he has.
Oh, hang on, I'll get
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I don't know. It's
The 1,000 yard stare. This is what we get.
He's looking through me.
He's seen some shit for sure.
Send me your bobs.
the thousand
Send
thousand
me your
shit
bobs,
stare.
son of a
The
bitch.
1,000 shit stare. That's right.
He looks
Those
like
guy,
he's
Rob.
seen some shit.
That's
Literally.
right. Yeah. I've seen where your shit come from. Okay, there it is.
Yeah. There you go. And he's still here.
Yeah. But yeah.
But the I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it can be fixed. I mean,
Well,
it can
do you
be
think
fixed.
Tom Homan
I don't
is
know
ta-
if anybody has the will to fix it. I mean, people say,
yeah.
things can't be fixed. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Bukele did a really good job of fixing shit in El Salvador. So much so that we're going to El Salvador soon on
But
vacation.
do you think what Trump said is right about that? Do you think that he just sent all of the criminals and
No.
everyone here?
No. Yeah, I think someone fed him that. And Trump has this habit of people feeding him information and he doesn't fact
He
check
just
it.
runs with it.
Just goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're
Especially
right.
especially if it's going to cause like friction, if it's going to cause some kind of confrontation, because he thrives on confrontation.
Mhm.
So I mean, anything that someone gives him negative, he's going to jump all over.
Yeah.
Nope, I agree.
I had a thing and then I lost it.
Sorry.
You
That happens to me.
mentioned earlier.
That's why I have the pad. That's why I have the pad and pen because I
Yeah.
forget
Yeah.
stuff all the time.
Yeah. No
Um,
worries. Go ahead,
While
bro.
Tim's trying to find whatever his mind was thinking of, you mentioned earlier, and I wanted to ask you about this, that the same people who are running America, even though Trump's in charge, the same people who run America run Europe. Who do you think
Jews?
those people? Who do you? Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what because like you left it open for interpretation.
No, he
I
did.
think it's
It was
obvious.
clear.
Like
It was clear.
I think it's obvious. Look at Biden's cabinet. None of them work on Saturdays.
I just wanted to paint the picture more clearly for people like me who are like, maybe you left it open for interpretation. I don't know.
No. I say this on my show all the time. There's a book that was written by an Israeli Jew, Israel Shahak, which was basically him exposing how fucked up Israel is and how fucked up Zionism is. I read the whole thing on my show. So
How do you
I'm
bring Christians over?
not.
How do you bring
What?
Christians over to that? Because like a lot of these evangelical Christians are like fully in support of Israel, fully in support of like America funding every single Israeli war and shit like that. Like my parents amazing on a lot of different topics as far as like economics and stuff like that. When it comes to Israel, it's like they're God's chosen people. This is what we believe.
I mean, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not out there trying to convince everybody I mean, even if you did like, say you woke up 300 million normies, what the fuck would you do with them?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to see normies activated? Look at Jan 6, 2021. That's what you get when normies are activated. What you're looking for is you're looking for elite people. You're looking for natural elite, what Hoppe calls natural elites. And you're looking for people who want to use power, who want to take power and want to use power. And, eventually, I mean, that has to start at the local level now because there's just no way of doing it. But eventually, maybe you get someone in the White House who, realizes, lies their way in and says, oh, yeah, Miriam Adelson, give me that $100 million. I'll do whatever you want. And then just fucking goes to war with them.
Yeah.
And then after you go to war with them and you fucking clear them out of here, then we may just have to go to Europe and fucking kick their asses there too. Because Europe is run by them too. The city of London was founded as a Khazarian empire in like the year 1024, and Khazarians call themselves Jews. And that's where the Rothschilds are out of.
Interesting.
That's where, I mean, every money laundering piece of shit bank is in the city of London. I mean, basically, yeah. So,
Good answer. Okay.
yeah, I mean, whenever you talk about those people, things get, it's the conversation gets it gets, and I'm just at the point anymore where it's like, okay, it's not the Jews, it's Jews. Jews are doing this. Okay, Anthony Blinken. Anthony Blinken is not the Secretary of State of the United States. He's Netanyahu's lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically Netanyahu's lawyer. And Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General, he's been attacking Catholics he's been putting Catholics in jail for praying outside of abortion clinics the last 4 years.
Yeah, I think that's more. I think the idea that, like, not like you said, it's not that the Jews are doing everything bad, but there's a lot of Jewish influence and a lot of, bowing to the state of Israel.
It's not all of you guys.
Well, someone said commented here, Mayorkas. I mean, Mayorkas is a Sephardic Jew. I think he's from Cuba. And he used to run HIAS, the Hebrew
Adolf
Immigrant
Spitter.
Aid
Adolf
Society.
Spitter.
The Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. He used to run the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, which is one of the biggest friggin' NGOs in the world for mass immigration into countries. I mean, when you look at there's a Charlemagne. I think it's Charlemagne. I forget what the name of the town is in Pennsylvania. Everybody talks about Springfield, Ohio, how all the Haitians got in there. Well, there's a town in Pennsylvania where they actually did an article recently where they said that all the Haitians that are in there were from a offshoot of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. And it's like, okay, well, yeah. And then it's like, I've had people tell me, say, oh, you're a Catholic. There are Catholic charities that do it too. Yeah, there are Catholic charities that do it. But if you look at the ones that are really pushing it, go look at the names on their board. You can call yourself, you can start a nonprofit and call yourself Catholic and not be Catholic. Sure. There's one out there which is like responsible, that is only like second to highest. And like everyone is like Steen and Berg and Witz. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then when you look at it, when you go to most Catholic organizations, they'll be like, person's name, a little bit about them, and it'll say what their home parish is. You never see their home parish. Yeah. Because they have no home parish.
All right, you're going to have to explain this to me. For $50, I want the answer. What the fuck is this 07 all about?
That's a salute.
Okay.
It's a salute.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it a salute? Okay. I don't know. You're the only person that people have come in here and done that to. So, you got a lot of respect, I guess. Hey, $50.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Then, Chunkamonkey says his super chat. Yeah. Blinken went to Israel after 10/7, and he walked into the Knesset and said, I'm here as a Jew.
Right.
He's the Secretary of State of the United States.
He's supposed to be representing America.
We don't have, you cannot have loyalty to another country. Because here's the thing. If they fuck this country up like they're fucking it up, and this country goes to shit, they have a place to go. I don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Spain doesn't want me, because they're under the same occupation regime that we are here.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask
Poland?
you.
I mean, I might go to Poland. I mean, but because I'm half
How
Poland,
Okay, so now, okay, if '07 is salute, I think I know what the O slash is, and I'm just gonna leave it there. All right, so anyway,
yeah.
uh, but that's kind of what I was asking before. I was trying to get to is how far back. Okay, like I don't know. Do you think that Tom Homan and Donald Trump are actually serious about a mass deportation agenda? Do you think that that's actually going to happen? And then the follow up to that is how far back do we go? Because if Vivek is technically an American citizen because his parents moved here, stop distracting me. Because his parents moved here and then they had a baby and then now that baby's an American or whatever. Is that good enough for him to stay? Probably not. Okay, so do both parents need to be Americans? Well, what if one of them was born to immigrants? You know, like how far back do we need to go? How far removed do we have to be to get our culture back? So first, do you think Tom Homan and Trump are serious, and then how far back? Yeah. If you were saying before, like immigration's the biggest issue, and we got to deal with it, and they got to be serious about doing it. I don't think you can get anybody that's more rhetorically consistent on this issue than Tom Homan. That motherfucker, if you let him off the leash, he's going to go buck wild and he's going to round them all up. Like, I feel confident about that. I think the guy means what he says. But is Trump going to allow it? Is he going to let him off the leash?
Well, that's the question is, when, I think I said this earlier, when, some boomer who's screaming now about, was holding up a sign at the RNC saying, deport illegals now, when it's somebody that they may know, well, what are they going to say? What are they going to say about that? And I'm one of those people who's like, I'm sorry, but it's like I have members of my family I'd like to see kicked out of the country. And they're they've been citizens for we go back generations here. But I don't know. I think that I don't know that you can do it you can even accomplish immigration reform on a big enough scale to make the kind of change that's needed. That's why I think regionalism is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, the way they're talking about it is like, we're going to come to your city and we're going to find you. We know who you are and we're going to grab you and kick you out. Like, it seems pretty.
But here's the thing is, my friend Tim Kelly from the Our Interesting Times podcast asked me this question after the election. He said, "Do elections even matter when you're occupied?"
Yeah. I mean, probably not. I mean, if you're occupied and controlled, right? Like, if there's just people here that are infiltrating and we can outvote them, then I guess it's okay. But it's not okay. But I mean, like, you'll win, right?
And I'm not one of these people who's completely black-pilled and is like, nothing ever changes, and we're, when we can, we
Are you black-pilled? Because you come across very black-pilled. That like, there's no hope.
No,
we're all fucked.
Oh no,
yeah.
Oh no, I think that human beings were meant to live regionally. Yeah. And I think that's where I am. I can't be black-pilled. I can't be black-pilled in my personal life because I live around people who, if they don't really think everything I do, but they get it. They get it. Where I live, people who talk about politics, they really are only talking about politics and how it's going to affect them. They don't want it to affect them.
Right.
They want to be able to keep living their lives the way they live. And that's not black-pilled. I mean, saying that we're under occupation and we might be under occupation for another 100 years is just reality. Yeah. It's just reality. The people who, I make predictions every once in a while because I want to feel like I have skin in the game. And I have no problem saying, I was wrong about that. Sure. But people who were like telling me like, you can't support Trump. Trump's owned by that our greatest ally in the Middle East and everything like that. I'm like, it'll just be infinitely better than Harris because Trump is one of those guys that if there's enough of a Twitter dust up, he could change his mind on things. And you're not going to get that with Harris. So I don't think I don't think I'm black-pilled at all. I think that I just see things the way they are, and I've set up and I'm seeking to set up my life and teach my my people what we're trying to teach people in the old glory club, which is a fraternity that we formed, is to form these regional groups
Hmm.
where you're building out and you're having each other's back, and you know, if things get really bad, you have people to rely upon. Yeah, that's one thing. That's the worst thing about anarchists is, I mean, what anarchists unite? What does that mean?
Yeah.
That sounds retarded.
Yeah, it
Yeah, it's
does.
like how many libertarians do you know that are like intentionally moving into the same area and seeking to make that area more libertarian?
The free state of New Hampshire.
Yeah, literally only New Hampshire.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. And the problem, and what's the problem there? And they can't. They all voted for Harris. Not the free staters,
Sure.
but the state
The other
kid.
people.
So, and
A lot of those
and
people
what do you?
moving there are more left-leaning libertarians as
Well,
well.
I
Like
don't
some
think.
of I
No,
don't
I
know.
think that
It's a
there.
mix.
I I think there are a lot of. I think there are a lot of family people there who are
Hmm.
family related, but they're infiltrated by leftists. They share a southern border with Massachusetts, some of the worst fucking people on the planet, and when you
Massachusetts,
don't
I
have
call them.
when you don't have a border, I mean, people are just going to flood in there, and you can take over you can get rid of car insurance, and you can make it so that Bitcoin,
Right.
people can get paid in Bitcoin and not get taxed and stuff like that, and that's great in the meantime. But if you're really, but all it takes is, and this is what the people from Free Talk Live found out. All it takes is the FBI to put their eye on you, and you're all going to fucking jail.
Yeah. Find me the man, I'll
You
find
know,
you the
so
crime. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I've been to New Hampshire. I've been to Porkfest. I got COVID there, and I couldn't friggin' walk for 3 weeks after that.
Oh,
That's
dude,
why you hate it.
Porkfest COVID. Porkfest COVID might be nasty, dude. That sounds
Yeah.
god awful.
It's worse than the Dragma variant.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
different. Yeah, that's a different variant you got up there. You got that anarchy COVID or something, dude.
But it's really nice. But you know, it goes back to what I was talking about. You know, with Robert Conquest in the beginning. If
Mhm.
something does not start out explicitly right wing, it will eventually go left wing.
I do think that's important. I think I think we could do better probably of distinguishing what left and right means, because I think a lot of people, if you were to ask me that question, I would say it becomes more like a private property, like individual freedom, capitalism, that kind of thing. Like I think that's kind of where I would draw it. You kind of drew the lines more around cultural issues.
Yeah, I thought it was more
yeah.
up and
I
down
mean,
for us libertarians. Like
economics
at
to me is not a religion. I mean,
No, it's not a religion,
econo-
but neither is culture.
it's a tool. It's a tool, but culture is culture kind of is.
but don't we
Culture
Culture
see
is your
things
belief
more?
system.
Don't libertarians see things more as a up and down, like the more authoritarian to less authoritarian kind of deal here, instead of the left to right, because there are issues
Yeah,
on
yeah,
each left
and
and the
that's
right.
but that's retarded too, because I mean, there are so many there are so many libertarians that when you like start nailing it down, it's like, well, parents really shouldn't have any say over their kids' lives.
What?
Yeah.
No,
It's
fuck
like,
you.
all
I'm a
right,
dictator in
well,
this household. Okay.
yeah. You know, so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm like, some kind of hierarchy matters. And there are people you do not want to have any. There are some people you would follow into battle, and
Yes.
you would risk your life for. And there's other people you wouldn't cross the street to piss on.
No, like we
I
were
think I was
saying
talking about
earlier.
more of like the government, like sorry, Tim, but like the Free the People. I think this was a video from Free the People, and they have a whole series on dictators, like actual dictators, and then they put it in terms of that, top to bottom. Like I understand you saying dictator in the household, like I'm socialist, communist with my family, that sort of thing.
No, I'm not
As far as
socialist
the
or
government.
communist. It's mine. Okay. Benevolent
Yeah.
monarchy. That's what we got going on here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
what would you? I mean, who would you rather? Would you rather lived in Germany in 1935 or the Soviet Union in 1935? It's
mean,
all just
Yeah.
it's all just degrees of you're.
But if
I mean,
those
if
are
you
my
want,
options, that sounds black pilled as fuck, because we're all going to die at the end. This is terrible.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
at least you at least you're dying in a prosperous society. I mean, And think about that too. What did you say? We
Yeah.
all just died. Well, why did so many of them die in the end? Because the whole world went to war with them,
Yeah.
and they still almost won.
Yeah, that's the Norm joke, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
Germany declared war on the world twice and almost won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. You're not black pilled. I don't know, man. I
Oh
think you
no,
are.
I mean,
But that's okay. I'm not going to tell you what you are.
yeah,
I do think your
that's
I think
just
your
how you have to
solution,
define. You have to define black pill.
Yeah.
like, it's all going to go to shit and we're screwed either way. So what's the point of even trying?
Oh, I don't think I'm.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm screwed. I mean, we're not going to have. There was no BLM riots around here.
Yeah, no, not in my town, right? Yeah, and that's kind of where I think your solution is correct. Like, I do think I've been saying on this show for a long time that I do think physical concentration is probably more the answer than anything else. Is that you need to get around people that you agree with, and you, like you said, that you want around your family. If you're coming around and saying that the child has more opinion over their life than I do, like, no, you're the kind of person I don't want around my kids. Okay. So I totally agree with you on the localism and all that kind of stuff, the decentralized nature of what you're saying too about regionalism, about just, focusing on what's around you and what you have the most direct impact on. I agree with all of that. It just seems like, I don't know, like you were saying, like, there's nowhere else to go. I've always heard that in the context of, like, there's nowhere else to go outside of America. Once we can't just run to the next free country. I do want to come back to that though, about Bukele and Malay, but there's no free country to go to. There's nowhere else to go. We're standing here. We're fighting here. This is where we are. And you're not going to fucking move me. And I'm going to get the people around me to have the kind of culture and society that I want to live in. I think that is the answer. It just seems like that, like, everyone else is going to come after us. I don't know.
We can also quote the Schwarze, Thomas
who?
Sowell.
Oh, okay.
The Schwarze,
Yeah.
Thomas Sowell. That there's no, you're not going to get the perfect. Everything is trade-offs.
Yeah. Everything is a trade-off. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, you're never going to get the perfect. The closest you can come to perfect is under your roof.
Yeah.
Is under your roof. That's it. And maybe if you get the perfect under your roof, that can rub off onto your neighbors. Maybe you can, and it's not going to be perfect. That's one of the other problems is like, I don't expect things to be orderly or perfect, especially when you consider the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, the situation we're in is like, okay, well, we have people constantly waging war upon us. You have the government that we're under is constantly wages war upon us every once in a while. Hopefully, for the next 4 years, that won't happen. But then again, we have the outside. We don't know. That's the problem with letting people into a country without knowing who they are, and letting them in under like diplomatic stuff is. You can have. We could be completely fucked because there are enough people here who are willing to do violence against us and take down our grid. It's like people don't remember that California had a station taken down a few years ago, and then when they looked into it, it was like they had built tunnels under the friggin' station and everything. And then now some CIA cunt that I don't really believe, but they're saying that it could have been North Korea who did it. And I don't know why she would lie about North Korea. North Korea is just, I mean, they can't even set a missile off 70 miles
All right.
or anything.
It doesn't make sense. Why would they do? Yeah.
Yeah, the grid. I mean, but the grid was taken out.
Right. Somebody did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can say, people can make the argument, well, I mean, China doesn't want to fuck with us. Yeah, China may not want to fuck with us, but there could be people in their government that want to fuck with us. And there could be people in a government over here that want to fuck with us, people in a government over here that want to fuck with us. We have people in our government who fucked with Ukraine and Russia so bad that you've had a friggin' near genocide going on for, going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do want to ask you about other countries, but go ahead, Rob, real quick.
Sure.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say you said cunt like Louis C.K. and it just made me laugh really hard. So
He does sound like Louis, right? If you close
you
your
kind
eyes.
of do sound. You kind of
Jew.
yeah.
Mexican Jew. That's right.
You
Yeah.
do sound like Louis C.K. a little bit, and you got the goatee to match with the head. So yeah, no, that's all. This is a productive conversation, no matter how dark it gets, because we are ultimately talking about solutions, really. What's going on?
That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and realistic solutions. That's this. give me solutions that are realistic. Give me solutions that I can look at. I remember in 2021, late 2021, when there were companies in Florida who were like, okay, we're not going to allow anyone to shop here. Stores, we're not going to allow anyone to shop here unless they have, vaccine passports. And DeSantis was like, no, fuck you.
Mhm.
You're not going to be allowed to do that. And I was like, yes, that's what a good governor does. And libertarians were like, how can you? It's a private company, bro. They can do
Right.
whatever they
Yeah.
want. Well,
Yeah.
kiss my ass. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Why am I gonna call myself what you call yourself? You sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah. And that's why I don't blame like more right-leaning Republicans and other people for not associating us or not associating with us because of shit like that. It's like you can't see the forest through the trees, and you're in support of this fully like authoritarian, like corporatist situation going on with COVID. So yeah, no, I definitely see the issue there. But for me, like hate to bring it back to the whole like inside ball talk, but like I love the Libertarian Party. I want to be a part of it in making it better. That's why I joined the National Committee and stuff like that. So like, what would you say to me? Just do your best job on the National Committee because none of it matters anyway. But like, just do your best job in moving the goalpost, shaking your fist, trying to get some publicity from people that matter. That sort of thing.
I think it's pretty obvious that the occupation regime, only wants two parties to exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the point of the third party? It's one of the things in late 2021 when I was, still hanging out with the Mises Caucus and everything that I was just like, this has to be okay. So now you're going to take over a political party that has no power, really has no say. Angela's done a pretty good job of being able to leverage some things, so I give it to her. But still, wouldn't you be better off like becoming a lobby group, like focus on one thing, like not like what is it? Over half the states now have constitutional carry, and they didn't have that. What it was like 5 states like 15 years ago. That was an organization most people never even heard of, the National Association for Gun Rights. And how did they do it? They lobbied the fuck. They were like, we're gonna primary the fuck out of you. We're gonna ring your phone all fucking day. I mean, they badgered everybody into basically doing it. So why are you not a lobby group? I mean, if you're form many lobby groups and concentrate on one thing here and there.
The National Association for Gun Rights, the acronym is NAGR, and I love it.
Yeah.
Just like when you were saying that, that's what I was thinking. I didn't want to interrupt you.
My buddy Jose used to work for him, and we used to laugh about that all the time.
That's
people
hilarious.
that annoy you.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, when you see that there are groups out there, when you see that there's no room for a third party, they're not going to let a third party have any power. What works? Look at what works and copy it. Become an NGO. Do something where you're concentrating on one thing, and then break it off and concentrate on another thing, and push these things, and just go. And that's the way you can make things work. Yeah, and be relentless. I mean, like NAGR, the way they did it was they were freaking relentless.
You have to be careful. We've crossed the line way too many times.
I know, I know, dude. Yeah,
I don't even like that word. I mean, Cooley is so much better.
Cooley? I don't know, man. You gave me some pretty good ones. The Jeets, you keep saying that. The street shitters, though.
At one point you said Jeets. At one point you said Jeets, and then you said GDP, and I was like Jeets DP, and then
Oh no! Oh god damn it!
Yeah, we import enough of them. Our GDP.
That's what I'm saying. GDP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the I want to kind of move to like foreign policy a little bit.
Sure.
You're talking about solutions, about a guy that's taking practical solutions. You were talking about.
Sorry, just did
now here's a guy.
Here's a guy you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, here's a guy that I think's doing it right, and that's Malay. You were mentioning Bukele earlier. I don't know. I think Malay's got it right. And I was telling my wife, I was like, look, if this shit keeps going for like another couple years, we might be moving to Argentina. I don't know. This seems like the way to go. But he got into a big spat with Hoppe, of all people. You mentioned him a couple times. He got in a big spat with Hoppe, and Malay basically took the angle like he's a libtard. The guy's just fucking all in his philosophy books and doesn't understand how the real world works. And I feel like that's what you've been saying about libertarians the whole time too. And I don't disagree with you. I'm just trying to, use that to springboard here.
Can you give a rundown of what they're disagreeing about?
Someone else can. All I saw was the disagreement. I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
yeah,
Hoppe can talk about what he can lay out a whole bunch of things, but I'm pretty positive it's about his Zionism.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. Yeah,
Malay sent, I think, 50 to 60% of the gold of Argentina's gold to the city of London, to the Rothschilds.
Ooh.
And that is not, my friend Tom Luongo said, well, I think he did that because they're trying to get the Falkland Islands back. They just discovered another oil reserve on the Falkland Islands. They're not getting it back from England. Okay. And plus the city, all right, let me move past that. The city of London there's been this thing where they've been weakened over the past few years. I don't want to get into this because it'll be a whole different rabbit trail.
According to Grok, that just follows everything on X. But, he says I asked Grok, what is the dispute between Malay and Hoppe? And he says it's not that. He says it's intellectual property is what the debate became all about. The debate became particularly public when Malay criticized Hoppe's views on intellectual property during various speeches and interviews, advocating for a complete abolition of IP laws. Hoppe responded by defending this position in his academic circles through his writings, emphasizing the importance of property rights in all forms to ensure a just society. And so that's kind of, oh my God, you want to talk about some nerd shit?
That is very nerd shit. Yeah,
yeah.
I like Stefan Kinsella, but damn, it's just that's one thing, Well, I mean, that's the only problem I have with Malay is a lot of the people who financed him were,
he was backing the state. The two things I saw that he did I didn't like: backing the state of Israel and saying like we're your greatest ally, your second greatest, whatever. But doing that whole dance, and then the second part was we're going to tie our currency to the USD. I was like, you don't fucking get it.
Well, that didn't bother me as much as soon as he got elected, the first place he went to was to the tunnel Jews
Weeping Wall
in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
he went.
Really?
He literally went to the Chabad and visited the tunnel. Remember the tunnel Jews from the beginning of 2024?
How much of that is just kissing ass so he doesn't get assassinated?
Well, I mean, put it this way: it's. The person who is going to be all right, and I think Malay's doing a good. From everything I can see, everything I've heard, he's been doing a good job. He's helped the economy. Okay, here's another problem I have. Okay, so is he president for life?
No, that's why I said it's got to be like 4 or 5 more years. He's got to get reelected. The people got to say they want more.
And I think they will reelect him. And I think he has to be president for life unless he's grooming someone specifically to take his place. Because this is what I know about people, especially people in Latin culture. In a Latin culture, people are very, very prone to, we need to help the poor. Mm-hmm. We need to help our poorer brothers. And there was a reason why Perón was so popular in Argentina, because he was mixing Marxism with fascism, and it was all over the place. But if you're doing this in a democracy where somebody who's completely opposed to you gets elected and just dismantles everything you've done, I mean, that's one thing about Trump. Trump's going to go in here. He could have executive orders that dismantle 40% of the government on the first day. I'm hoping, but what happens with what happens when the next person gets elected? Because Americans have this habit, and especially with all these fucking, you have Jeet Vasion, who says in 2028 they're not going to vote for Josh Shapiro or Gavin Newsom, and everything goes back to the way it is.
Yeah, you talk about making predictions. I already said I think Democrats are going to win 2028, and that's going to be their number one goal is outdoing everything Trump did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened. Trump did some good things in his first term. I mean, especially the on the border,
Yeah.
and that was all of this stuff was overturned the first day. So, I mean, I want to believe Bukele. It seems to me is setting himself up for dictator for life, and I have
Yeah.
no problem with that. I read Hoppe. I've read Democracy: The God That Failed twice.
Yeah.
What I got out of it was, you get into the later chapters. He's talking about anarcho-capitalism. This is why we can have anarcho-capitalism. Great, that's fine. What I got out of it was the best societies always had one person in charge making the decisions, and you knew whose head to chop off if things got bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've heard that argument
I
about
want
monarchy. Yeah.
I want one person in charge. I want one person who makes the decisions, has an elite group around him, wants the best people, and has his people, is part of the people, is part of that culture, is not a foreigner. I'm sorry, Josh Shapiro is not an American. He'll never be an American. He has loyalty to another country. I'm sorry, if you have loyalty to another country, you cannot be. You're not an American. You're not even an American citizen, as far as I'm concerned.
I saw you bringing
You're
this
just
up in other places. Do you think Trump is America first?
I think he is, but I don't know that his idea of what America is and what mine is match.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think he thinks that anybody can become an American, and in certain, when my there's a reason why my first name isn't Pedro, because my dad wanted me to be a fucking American. There's a reason we didn't speak Spanish in the house, because my dad wanted me to be a fucking American. That's somebody who is like, we're proud. This is our country.
Was your father an immigrant? I don't mean to get too personal, but
I mean, he was born. He came here when he was 6 months old from Puerto Rico, but he was born an American citizen. So it's like
Get him out.
His father was born an American citizen, and his father before him was born an American citizen. So
that Rob got where I was going with that. That's funny. It was a
Yeah,
joke. Yeah.
Get him out.
Yeah, no.
but it's not your Trump. I look at a nation as its people. Trump looks at a nation as its people, but he thinks that there's a possibility that anyone could become an American, and there is a possibility that somebody can come here and they have they have the ability to be culture bearing for our culture, is related to our culture. But when you're just bringing people here on H-1B visas where they're here to make money, and then if they have a kid here, that kid becomes, the guarantee. You're pretty much guaranteed that person is not going to be. Vivek is not an American. Vivek thinks Indians are better than Americans. He said it in that tweet. I'm sorry, that is the only way to interpret that tweet. So
Yeah, I don't think this particular claim has merit, but is it un-American to say that the Kenyans can run faster than us? Like, I don't know. Like if they truly are better at something, then it is.
Sure,
what it is.
that's perfectly fine. That doesn't mean I want him living next to me.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, I also wanted
We
to
don't
ask
have
you-
to. We
yeah.
don't have to win the 100. The United States does not have to win the 100-meter dash in the Olympics.
Fuck
I
that.
agree.
I want to win it.
We
I
can-
want to
we
win
can-
it. I want to
we
win
can
it bad.
We can finish last and be a coherent culture where people get to live prosperously and feel like they're a part of something.
Mhm. Yeah, I do think culture is important. Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
Like Sweden. We don't come in first in the Olympics all the time, but we have a very, very nice country. Very, very nice country. We leave our babies outside. No one takes them.
And that's another thing. If they were arguing, if there was some argument for, oh, well, we need these Swedes and we need these Germans and we need these too, but it's all these people who live in a culture of shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Our
shit.
GeoGuessr game on New Year's Eve proved that. So go ahead. Last thing I wanted to ask you. I told you before the show I was going to ask you about this. I think I found the perfect way to frame it. How do you feel about Trump's American expansionism? About wanting to take over Greenland, wanting to take over the Panama Canal, wanting to annex Canada, and by military means if necessary. To me, that doesn't say America first. He's like, that's some fuck. the Panama Canal, I kind of understand that, right? Our blood and sweat and tears and everything went into that. We built that thing, and then we gave it up for $1 because Jimmy Carter sucks fucking dick. That happened. Okay, I think, and then Panama Canal also, just south of the border, it's very important trade route. We invested a lot into that. I could see an argument for that. I don't want fucking Canada, and I don't care about Greenland. What's your take on those things?
I think that anybody who's been paying attention to Trump for the last 10, 20 years knows he just says shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he just says shit.
It's just posturing so he can get a better deal.
Sometimes he means.
Why would why would you want Greenland? Mineral deposits is the only reason. Why would you want Canada?
Military? Yeah, he says military
deposits,
advantage. Yeah.
The only military advantage you could look at is if Russia is, I've heard recently that Russia has a lot of cutters in the North Sea,
Like
and
in
that
the
they've
Arctic?
basically taken control of they've basically taken control of the North Sea, and that could be one of the reasons why, is because if you have Greenland, then you can stop that to a certain. You can be like, hey, you're encroaching on territory here. But I mean, I don't think that. Yeah, and Russia could also. One of the things it could do is, I mean, it could basically walk right over the cap into Canada. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that they would be invading, but I'm saying that they could go in there and they could start mineral, drilling and doing things without permission. I mean, we've had the slant drill. I mean, the friggin' Kuwaiti, Iraq War I was all over encroachment of on oil fields, slant drilling oil fields. So, I mean, put it this way: when Trump starts talking like that, that's just entertainment to me. Yeah. I just think it's hilarious. I read it to my wife. My wife laughs her ass off because we just know that this isn't going to happen. First of all, Canada is, their culture in many ways is more fucked than ours. I mean, there have been assassination. The Indian government has sent Indians there to assassinate other Indians. I mean,
Canada's like, it's just their culture. Let them do it
in Canada, and it's like we don't need that here. Yeah. I mean, we should be building a wall to keep those fucking maple monkeys out on the fucking north border.
Yeah, there's no threat from up there, only down south. Leighton brought this up while he was on our show at one point, and he was saying, Russia's only 2 miles from Alaska. It is kind of right next door. You don't think about it because it's all the way up there. No one cares about it, but it is.
They are our neighbors. They are our neighbors in some sense.
Yeah.
And I think Trump doesn't even want war with Russia, really. So it's like, why would he want Like, if he actually sees himself ending this whole conflict, then Greenland's not even a thing for him in his head.
Well, I'll I mean, you can have whatever last thought you want to have, but I guess I want to ask you, first 100 days, anything good get accomplished first year? What kind of predictions or expectations do you have going into this? You were saying before, like, if anything good happens, that'll be a win. You don't expect much, but if anything happens, that's good. What are you most expecting? Like, what, I don't know, give us a bold prediction from Pete Quinones.
I don't know if this is a bold prediction. I just want the markets to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I want to make some money.
Yeah.
I want to make money.
2025 is making money a year. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what, if you have money to invest, don't take my advice on anything. I'm fucking retarded. Okay.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, this is not financial advice. Try to make some money, find some good investments. I would stay away from gold. I would stay away from silver. They're pretty much peaked. I don't see them going up anymore. But there are some stocks out there.
He's telling me I'm going broke. That's what he's telling me right now. Okay.
No. I mean, no, dude. Yeah. I have a ton too. So yeah, I have a ton of that too. But that's what I would concentrate on. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah, you hope to see. You start seeing some deportations, especially. Maybe Homan starts with the people he thinks are the most violent and have criminal records in other countries.
Low-hanging fruit. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, do that.
Which they also pick.
Try to build upon that. Which
because they're short.
All right, that's good.
Okay.
All right, that's awesome.
No, man. Hey. Hey, Pete, where can people find more? We'd love to have you back on in a couple of months, see how
Oh,
things have
anytime.
turned out.
Any
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah. I would
yeah.
love to come back on in 100 days. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Where can
Pete
people find
Quinones
you?
Show.
Yeah.
Pete
Yeah.
Quinones Show, any podcatcher, PeteSubstack.com, the Old Glory Club. That's my guys. Check out our Substack, and we stream on YouTube and on Twitter. I don't call it X because I'm not nasty. We do that every Thursday night at 8 Eastern, and Vol's Persona, who's in here, he's always in the chat there, and anyone who can tell you. So we're going to be streaming on Thursday, and we have an awesome time, and no one walks away from that disappointed. Some
Good.
people may get frustrated because we can be assholes, but
That's
we have a lot of guys who are very, very well versed on a lot of different topics. So like, if there's a naval thing, we have a couple guys who are former Navy who come on, and we have experts on pretty much everything. So, if there's something specific that happened that week, you're going to get a good take on the Old Glory Club stream.
hell yeah, man. I'm gonna check it out. Sounds like an interesting time. Rob, you got anything? You want to wrap this up?
Yeah, man. I just want to say, Pete, thanks for coming on again. I listened to you on Free Man Beyond the Wall like years ago. Big fan. So cool having you on and great conversation. Find me if you're here for Pete and you like this podcast. Follow us at Real Swampcast and follow my comedy. If you like stand up comedy, follow R Vincent Vinson comedy. And yeah, I got some shows coming up. I got Valentine's Day. I'll be in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I got booked my first flight out of town show, so that's gonna be cool. And I got a show here in Pensacola on the 17th. So just follow my page, and we got some good things coming.
Yeah, definitely go check out Pete. Pete R. Quinones on X. Substack is all of his website. Everything is down in the description down below, so you guys can go find all that if you don't know him already. Most of you guys are here because of Pete. Thank you guys for coming to hang out. We're going to go play some poker and hang out at Real Swampcast everywhere, realswampcast.com. Love you guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
07's in the chat. Yeah. All right.